In just 6 weeks, Katie Wilson will take the oath of office and become just the second socialist mayor in Seattle history. Her election has already prompted a response from the White House.
KOMO senior reporter Chris Daniels asked around today on what history tells us about how Wilson may approach the job. Joins us live in studio with more.
Yeah, Preston, Edwin Doc Brown was Seattle's first socialist as mayor in label alone. And while he shared some philosophies with Wilson, the similarities may end there, with historians cautioning the idea of socialism has evolved over time.
Some people can create the boogeyman behind socialism, but I don't find it scary at all.
It is the post-election question. What do you think it means to be a socialist?
I think it means that you are focusing on the income inequality.
How will socialist Katie Wilson govern?
As a progressive and as a socialist, I believe in good governance.
She's already been labeled
a liberal/communist mayor
by the President of the United States.
That's more than socialism.
The city has been here before.
Seattle had just come out of a huge labor uprising, the general strike of 1919, where literally the entire working class of the city went on strike. And so Doc Brown promoted himself on really the backs of that activity.
Leonard Garfield is the executive director of the Museum of History and Industry and says Edwin Doc Brown was elected over the same issues of affordability.
What he really wanted to do was lower transit fares and strengthen public ownership of the power supply. And he did that, but he did switch his opinion rather early in his term and actually became a friend of the corporate interests.
Which is not necessarily the definition of socialism.
No.
And Garfield says Brown was also lax about the law, which doesn't fit with current European views of socialism. Is there a connection between public safety issues, policing, and socialism?
It is definitely a strange distortion, at least of the historical record, because avowed socialist states one of the criticisms that they have of capitalist states is that they are dangerous.
Aldis is a Seattle University history professor and scholar who has long studied and written about socialism and says there are differences here than with Marxist or communist regimes. There's also a similarity.
The sense of the wealthy, the privileged having to pay back into society is probably some of the roots of the current fad for socialism.
For Doc Brown, it was lowering the price of transit and power. For our current mayor-elect, it's the price of housing and restaurants. So we see a common thread there.
Well, I look at countries like Finland and Sweden and Norway that have had socialist, and Iceland that have had socialist administrators, and those countries look like they've done pretty well.
Seattle will now be the latest city to take a crack at it. Wilson has talked about free childcare, social housing, and new taxes to pay for it all. And now the unanswered question will be, how does any of that math work, given the delicate balance of the local economy and a tech industry that has had problems here in recent months? Sounds good on the campaign trail, but implementation, as we know, is another issue.
Chris, should people read anything at all into who she's hired for her transition team?
I think we can objectively say right now, Preston, that she has delivered on one campaign promise, and that was to bring in some City Hall veterans. Two of the members of her team on the transition team have been cabinet-level directors who have economic development history and neighborhood experience under previous mayors. But who she eventually hires as deputy mayors may ultimately be telling, given her lack of experience in city government.
Okay, Chris, thank you.